Hello guys, and today we continue our favorite Russian geography lessons, and all because the Ukrainian drones continue to destroy various evil military objects deep inside the Russian Federation. And last night they traveled to Promsintez, which is a huge, actually one of the most important on the territory of the former USSR factory, responsible for the production of various explosives. And as a factory full of explosives, it kept detonating all the night. More than 20 explosions were fixed. But most importantly, this means lots of innocent lives saved. Because if you look at what Russia does in Ukraine in the context of these very fake negotiations, you clearly understand the only way to bring lasting peace in Ukraine, Europe, and the world is to defeat and demilitarize Russia. And that is exactly what our drones are doing, and not just in Samara, but also in other Russian locations every night. For example, also in Mordovia. Let's discuss all of that in the video. My name is Anna, I'm from Ukraine, I'm in Ukraine, and if you want to see the defeat and demilitarization of Russia, and also Putin in The Hague, subscribe, we will discuss all that on the channel sometime soon. And let's start with this favorite news. That is when Ukrainian drones destroy another legitimate military and super explosive objects inside the Russian Federation. Last night, our drones visited Promsintez. That is a big factory in Samara region, and it was responsible for the production of various kinds of explosives that are later used by the Russian army. And according to the Russian information, this was actually one of the biggest factories on the territory not just of the Russian Federation, but of the former USSR. I personally do not like this term, the former USSR, but that's what Russians say when they describe the importance of this military object. And you know that during wartime, the need in explosives is very high, and that is why Russian production will be seriously slowed down. And this always means more Ukrainian innocent lives saved. Because if you see what they are doing in Ukraine, especially now after the start of the so-called negotiations, this is not just war crimes, these are sins. Have you seen the news from Kryvyi Rih when they targeted a children's playground, killing 9 children? And in general, the number of people who were murdered in the result of this Russian attack simply keeps growing. And I hate saying a number now because tomorrow it can change. Russia must be punished, Russia must be defeated. That is the only way to bring lasting peace. Unfortunately, they have built a lot of facilities which they use for the production of bombs, missiles, and this exact Promsintez factory in Samara is one of such targets. So whenever I learned that Ukrainian drones destroy them, and there were 20 explosions fixed, like a very serious detonation that definitely destroyed a lot of production facilities and a lot of these explosives stored there, I feel grateful to the Ukrainian army that in this, once again, context of constant restrictions, of wrong supply, of various betrayals, keep doing the real job. And also telling the Russian population, no, not everything goes according to the plan. Because whenever you hear the sound of explosions in your city, it is always a reason to be worried. And that's why I invite you to watch a new and maybe one of the most important videos ever for me on the new channel, where I introduce you to the sounds of war. That is what you have to know, and that is what you can listen in that video, starting with air raid alerts and finishing with the explosion of big ballistic missiles. For me, it was a video that was difficult to film, but it is also very personal and very important. And I consider it to be not just a video, but like a text from a book, or a testimony. Please watch it and share it. It is very important. And of course, subscribe and share these videos. If you share my opinion, this is important. Same as it is very important to keep demilitarizing Russia. And this night, another flock horde of drones traveled to Mordovia. It is far away, deep inside the Russian Federation, with actually a great potential to become independent one day. And what Russians do, they move many of their military production deeper inside the Russian Federation and thus out from this classical Russia to the republics like Tatarstan, for example. Ukrainian drones often visit drone production facilities in Kazan, and in Tatarstan. And Kazan is the capital of Tatarstan. And back in 1991, back in 1992, Tatarstan wanted to become independent. It is a very different nation now imprisoned inside the Russian Federation. And what they do by moving these military facilities to the countries actually, like Tatarstan, they not only try to protect them from attacks, because that's deeper inside the Russian Federation, but they also try to impose more control over these Tatar territories that are not an example of what Ruski Mir doctrine develops. And I'm sure that countries like Tatarstan, like Chechnya will appear one day as independent states. And you don't have to be afraid of that. This is a natural process of the dissolution of the Russian Empire. It is a too large monster to be democratically controlled. And what is interesting, the majority of the empires collapsed in the end of the 19th century, in the middle of the 20th century. And what we observe right now with Russia is the collapse of that Russian Empire. It is a natural process. It is one more reason to understand that Russia will be defeated, that Russia will be changed. Don't be afraid of that. This is a natural process, just like seasonal change. Empires cannot survive in the 21st century, and the Russian is collapsing right now. Their wars, their attacks against democratic nations is actually this desperate try to survive, but Russia is the past. Ukraine is the future. And that's important to understand when making some decisions. And thank you so much for the support that you demonstrate to Ukraine. Check our new collection, new drop in the merch shop that work well as reminders about Ukraine, conversation starters, and also good spring and Easter presents. Join me on X, join me on Instagram, on Threads, on Blue Sky, and Discord community. Remember to join our live stream tomorrow on Sunday, 9 p.m. Kyiv. Thank you for buying me coffees, becoming my patrons and sponsors of the channel, but most importantly, thank you for standing with Ukraine. Slava Ukraini!